Hey everybody, welcome to Pillow Talk with Dr. Boyce and Dr. Alicia Watkins. My name is Dr. Boyce Watkins, and I'm here with my lovely wife, Dr. Alicia Watkins. We have decided to bring in the new year in sunny yet rainy the Bahamas. How you doing, babe?
I'm doing all right, but you know what? It's certainly better than ice cold weather in Chicago. How about that?
That is true. Yes. Oh my gosh, Christmas is freezing.
It was cold, but it
Yeah.
was the threat of that big snowstorm. It missed us.
Did it miss us? I thought it hit us. I mean, we
Well,
got hit.
we
It was pretty cold outside.
it was cold, but we didn't get like a foot of snow like they thought we were gonna get. But New York State got it. Did you hear what
Mm,
happened in New York State?
no. Oh, well, I heard Buffalo had a once in a generation storm.
Yeah,
And that's a lot because Buffalo gets too much snow.
they get a lot of snow, so they have a whole lot of snow packed upon
Yeah.
their normal snow totals. It's pretty bad.
Yeah, when Buffalo says they got a lot of snow, then that's pretty bad.
Yeah.
But anyway, how's everybody doing? Let us know. Give us help us out with the audio if you don't mind. Could you give us a yes if you can hear us? Okay. Give us a yes if you can hear us in the chat. You're listening to Pillow Talk with Dr. Boyce and Dr. Alicia Watkins. I'm a finance professor, and my wife is a social work, a full professor of social work, and a licensed therapist. And we like to get against our pillows and have conversations that we hope are intelligent contributions to the Black community. So thank you, Eddie and Dennis. Shout out the city you're from. Let us know what city you guys are coming from. Patrick Smith, how you doing? Felicia Ruiz and Sean Hall, April Muhammad. Sheila, Chanel Long, Dennis Spraggan says much love. Claudius is out of Philadelphia. Daniel out of San Antonio. Eli Muhammad. Now, Jim Mack was first out of Chapel Hill. FYJ, good to see you or good to hear from you. Let's see here. Detroit, Michigan for FY. Eddie Johnson for Kylene, Texas. Chanel, Oklahoma. Chanel Long out of Oklahoma. Marianne, Minneapolis. Jesse, Ypsilanti, Michigan.
Oh my God, this is all over. We are spread all over the place.
Yeah. Well, and Michigan's a big deal because they whooped the hell out of Ohio State. My Buckeyes got their butts kicked.
You're still talking about that.
Oh, I'm gonna talk about
Still a
that for the
month
rest of the
ago.
season. Well, remember the if you're a football fan, I mean, the big games are coming up.
Oh yes, I forgot about that. So is Ohio State and Michigan, are they in the Final Four, whatever it's called?
Yeah, I think Michigan. I forgot who Michigan. I know Ohio State plays Georgia, and I think Michigan plays like
Hold on.
TCU.
Ohio State is not going to get past Georgia. That
Well,
team.
that's what the experts say. But
Georgia got it this year because
well,
Alabama's not in it.
we believe in
That's what's
Jesus.
up. Okay, you're gonna
anyway,
need to pray for
anyway,
that one.
let's get to our topic. Okay, so our topic today has to do with this interesting catfishing situation that happened at an HBCU. Now, we did a short little video actually, drboycetv.com, where we actually talked about catfishing, and because you were listening to that podcast
Yeah, we were
with the
at the.
therapist, and they were explaining catfishing, like who's most likely to get catfish and stuff like that.
I was at the gym and I was listening to my podcast about, um, about relationships, about therapy, about research and all this. And so they had done a bunch of studies on people who had been catfished, and they did a bunch of studies on people who catfish other people.
Mm.
And so they were given like a profile of what these people are. And I learned something new. Did you know that who's that guy? I told you he started out being a catfisher. He's a guy, he's online and he's real popular. You were watching him on
Oh,
the
you're talking about
airplane.
Andrew Tate.
Andrew Tate. He was a catfisher.
Oh.
That was unbelievable.
Well, wasn't he like part catfisher, part pimp? Like he was pimping, getting his women to have conversations with
Yeah.
men that would cause them to give up money. Is that what it was?
It's really, yeah. So he called in his ex-girlfriends, 4 of his ex-girlfriends. He called them in for a meeting and said, we're going to exploit men for their money. And I would like for the 4 of you to help me do that, exploit these men. And 2 of them was like, man, I'm not doing that. 2 of them got up and left and said, I'm not doing that. But the other 2 stayed and was like, cool, I'll do it. And so what he did was he had them have an online profile. It was actually them. It was their picture. So it was a really strange catfish situation because it was actually their picture and it was actually them. But get a load of this. He was the person who sent all the messages to these guys.
Oh, really?
So the women never sent all the online messages back and forth to the men
Really? He just
came
used
from
their
him.
pictures,
He just used their
or
pictures,
maybe like videos and stuff.
and he used their videos, and they had like video chats or whatever, probably on Zoom or something. Video chats and everything was them, but the actual person who was sending the written messages, salacious written messages back and forth, was Andrew Tate.
What I don't understand is like, I mean, why would you send money to a person that you've never met?
No, you have met them.
No,
You just have,
I'm talking
maybe
about
you've even
somebody
met
that
them
you've
in
never been in the
person.
same room. That's true. I guess what they could go on a date.
Maybe,
He would
yeah.
tell them to go on a date and don't. I wonder if he. I mean, think about it. He did talk about like being a pimp or something. So I wonder if he would just send the women to go actually even sleep with the men and then get their money
I
from them.
don't know. I don't know if they had physical contact with each other, but
Mm.
you just know the person. It just makes sense. It
Uh,
makes sense. When I heard about the Mateo guy,
mhm.
the football player from Notre Dame, remember him?
Yeah.
Who was catfish? We saw it on Netflix.
Yeah, now that was a
You
little
know.
weird because I don't understand why you would have a girlfriend for 4 years that you never saw. But I'm sitting there. Here's what I'm thinking, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, catfishing is terrible, right? But and I knew a friend who got catfished, and it was easy to spot. I
Wait, you
remember.
got friends that do all sorts of
I
things.
do have lots of friends,
You
and
got
so
friends
one
that.
of my friends, I remember he was telling me about this great woman he met in Africa, who
Uh
he
oh.
showed me her picture, and he said that she has her own house, her own whatever. And I said, "Well, have you met her?" And he said, "No." And I said, well, it sounds great. I said, but just be mindful. If she asks you for money at any point, you need to make sure you say no. And he said, well, she hasn't asked you for any money yet. I said, no, they just know how to take their time. So about 3 or 4 weeks later, he told me, he said, yes, she finally came around to asking me for money. She said she wanted to come see me and asked me to send her the money to come see me. And I told her no. And I said, good. So I think that it's catfishing kind of confuses me, but then again, maybe it doesn't work on regular people. Like, didn't you say that there? And we're going to talk about this, right? There's an HBCU case at Coppin State. That's a crazy catfishing story.
It's so convoluted. I couldn't even, when you were telling me the story, I couldn't even get the names and the situation straight in my head.
I think
It's
I
almost
got it
like I need
straight.
a board. I need a
A
board.
storyboard. Yeah, yeah. So let's jump into that,
Okay.
and then we'll talk more about catfishing and just kind of the different types of people that get catfish. And I have some theories on you. I have some Uncle Boyce
But
theories.
wait, what a coincidence that I happened to listen to that podcast. And I
Mm,
don't ever listen to podcasts like that all the time.
that's so true.
And then the very next day, here you come with the story,
I know, right? It's like the Immaculate Conception.
the catfish
So
story.
so here's the deal. Here's the story, right? So this is crazy. Do me a favor, by the way. If y'all could please hit the thumbs up button, thumbs up, share, subscribe, hit the notification bell so you'll be notified when we go live. Also, you can get a free e-copy of my book, Financial Lovemaking, if you go to boyceandalicia.com. So feel free to go there. You can have the book totally for free. All right, so here's the deal. So this happened at Coppin State University, and at Coppin State, there's this coach there named Juan Dixon. Now Juan Dixon,
Hold
I don't
on.
know if anybody's heard his name, but he wait, wait,
He's on my show that I like to
well,
watch.
that's his wife. His wife is on the
Yeah, but
Robyn.
he's on there too.
Is he?
Yeah, they're engaged.
Oh, so they're both on the Real Housewives of Potomac.
Yes. That's
Really?
my show. And I don't watch any of the Housewives series, but I do watch the ones on Potomac. Almost because I wish I lived in Potomac.
Oh,
I
really?
love that. I love the East Coast.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, that's nice to know.
That's why I watch it.
Okay, so Real Housewives of Potomac, Robyn Dixon's husband Juan, who was a basketball star at the University of Maryland, he apparently had a player that named Ibn. What was his last name? Ibn something.
Oh, let me get the
You got to pull it
names.
up. But this player sued Coppin State, and he also sued Juan Dixon. And here's what this player claims happened. His name, I think Ibn Williams, I believe that's his name. So he basically says that he got catfished by a former player who became an assistant coach. That there was this other player who, who graduated, became a graduate assistant, and he was
That happens a
catfishing
lot.
him.
That happens a lot at universities.
What happens a lot?
Well, you graduate from the university and maybe you want to do a fifth year, or maybe your 4 years is up and you want to do a 5th year, or maybe you want to get a master's degree, that 1-year master's degree program.
Mhm.
And so they'll hire the student to come in and work, and then you can get your master's degree. It happens a lot.
Okay. So this player, Ibn Williams,
Oh, you wrote it down.
says, I wrote their names down because I
Oh,
was trying to
good.
remember.
Okay.
So Ibn Williams filed the lawsuit, and basically he says that he started getting catfished by a person online who sort of, I guess, convinced him to send some nude photos or whatever. Well, apparently, according to Ibn in his lawsuit, he claims that the person that was actually catfishing him was one of the assistant coaches, a guy named Lucian Brownlee, allegedly. And basically, I guess Brownlee, from what I've read, he played at Coppin State and then
Right. He was the
graduated.
5th year. Right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so he got, allegedly, according to Ibn's lawsuit, which again, all this is allegedly. I think it's really important to state that because you don't know who did what exactly. You just know what the allegations are. And he says that he was convinced to send nude pictures, and that he started getting blackmailed. That the person catfishing him was saying, "If you don't give me more pictures, I'm gonna release the pictures that I have." And then this was the crazy part. So I need y'all to pay attention. Give me a yes if you're following all this, because it gets a little bit just crazy. So according to Ibn Williams in the lawsuit, Brownlee then goes to Williams and says, "I'm being catfished by the same person too." But allegedly he's not actually being catfished. He is the catfisher. So the catfisher is claiming, so the predator, according to the lawsuit, the predator is claiming to be the victim. So he says, "I'm being catfished by the same person you're being catfished by." Not catfished, or I guess they didn't know.
Blackmailed.
Blackmail.
So he didn't know
Blackmail,
about
right. I'm getting my predatory terms confused. Sorry, not catfish, blackmail.
Yeah, the catfish situation didn't come out until later on. He figured out. We should probably tell it in order or something. I don't know how to tell the story.
I'm totally messing up the story. But you get it right.
Yeah, so that's interesting because this is not a catfish situation like your friend who was asking for money and asking for money. This was like, send me pictures so they talk you into sending pictures, and then take the pictures and blackmail you based on the pictures.
Yeah, so according to the lawsuit, Brownlee told Williams that he was being blackmailed by the same person, and that the person said that if you and I don't sleep together on video, they're going to release these pictures, right? So according to the lawsuit, they did the thing, and sent in the video, and then the blackmailer said, "Send me more videos or I'm going to release all this stuff." And apparently, according to Williams in his lawsuit, Brownlee was, all along, he was the person who set the whole thing up.
I wonder how he found that out. That is really fun. So it seems like Brownlee befriended Williams. Just started conjuring up in a relation, because in order to get that type of information out of somebody, you had to like become friends with them, which makes sense, right? You had to be friends with them. So Brownlee had a was interested in Williams, and was just like, oh, and then that's how you convey all this information. You just kind of say, "Oh man, I'm getting catfished by this lady, such and such. She's gonna send pictures." Like, I don't know, like someone's blackmailing you with pictures, boys.
Yeah, I think that whole idea that you're scared that your pictures will be released, that's kind of interesting, right? I mean, I think first off, obviously, first of all, he's a college kid, right? And you're gonna make mistakes. But I would just generally say to my son,
it's embarrassing and humiliating.
I would say to my son, like, don't send stuff like that out. Or it could be used against you.
But if you feel
unless you're okay with somebody passing that on. If you're okay with, like, if you're proud of your junk and you don't care who sees it.
People send salacious pictures of themselves to people all the time.
Yeah.
But you trust that person will hold those photos sacred.
And then what if they break up with you? Do you trust
breakups happen all the time.
Right. That's why you don't send those pictures.
Yeah, but people still do that.
They do, and I wouldn't do it. Only if I ever did it, it would be because I just did not care. Because remember, you're releasing it into the wild. It's out there now. It's digital.
if you see a future with somebody and you trust them and you really like them, I think it's kind of.
I
First of all, I think it's kind of I don't know, kind of kinky to send
it's
like
kinky.
naked photos. Like I don't really think that that's I don't see anything wrong with that really.
I don't see anything wrong with it as long as you understand the risk. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying don't do it.
Especially if you're apart and you can't see each other
Right,
and
and I'm just saying,
you want to show somebody what they're missing.
yeah,
You
but
want to
I'm
try to
saying,
get into their head and get them
yeah,
to fall for you and
I don't know.
get them to do all that. You
Maybe I
send
studied.
pictures like that.
Yeah, but maybe I studied too much cybersecurity to know just how risky that is. I'm not saying don't do it. I'm just saying you got to know the risk. Imagine if that person was no longer your boyfriend anymore or no longer your girlfriend. Would they do something with those images? And and if the answer is yes, then I don't know. I guess it's like
Well,
just
people don't
well.
want to walk
So let me
around.
finish the story. Let me finish the
Okay.
story. Okay. So Ibn Williams, the student, was being blackmailed by this person who was catfishing him. He didn't know he was being catfished, and his alleged friend, according to this lawsuit, Lucian Brownlee, was basically saying, "I'm being blackmailed by the same person, and that if we don't have sex on camera, then they're going to release these photos." So Ibn eventually, I guess, stopped speaking with the catfisher. He said, "I'm done. I'm out of here." And that's when all the videos and all the photos got released to the
Oh,
staff, to the team.
oh,
He
so they actually released
they
all of
they
that.
followed through on the
Okay.
threat.
Wait,
Right.
hold. Okay. So wait a second. So wait, pull the names up because I want to make sure I get the names right. So Brownlee,
Hmm.
aka the catfisher,
Right.
released all of these pictures and himself in it too,
I guess.
and released all these pictures.
I guess so.
Wow, that's like you telling on yourself. Okay.
Right. So somehow Williams found out that Brownlee was the catfisher, I guess. I don't know how he found that out. But he allegedly, according to this lawsuit, he went to the coach and he went to the university, and he claims that they asked him a lot of uncomfortable questions about his sexual history, his sexual orientation, and then they took away his scholarship. I think that they just didn't believe him. I think that that's what it was. I think that they just didn't believe him and they just said kick rocks. And then also, according to the lawsuit, they told Williams that they knew Brownlee had mental health issues,
Mm-hmm.
and they're claiming in the lawsuit, I guess they were negligent by allowing a person with known mental health issues to have supervisory authority over young men. So that's the
Okay.
lawsuit.
Well, just because you have mental health issues doesn't mean people. A lot of people have mental health issues. They don't do stuff like this.
Yeah.
This is really this is really extreme. Um, so wow. So what did they try to do? Bury the story? Because I know that's a Title IX violation.
If
I
that
mean,
if
if
that was what happened, I don't know if they tried to bury it. I think it's more like they're just dealing with it. I guess they're dealing with the lawsuit, and I don't know. I mean, I think it's interesting. This story made me think about what you were telling me about catfishing, and why some people are more vulnerable to it. Like, didn't you have a list of like
people
the
who are vulnerable to being
yeah,
catfish,
yeah.
yeah, there's some personality characteristics.
What are they?
Well, one, you're just very lonely. I don't know if that's a personality characteristic, but people who are very isolated and really lonely. And that's what happened with Mateo at Notre Dame. He was far away from, his home. He didn't know anybody. Can you imagine the cold weather right now in the cold weather and you're from Hawaii, you've never even seen snow. And here you are playing football. And so yeah, so he said it's people who are lonely and very isolated, people who are very cooperative. I don't know what about cooperation makes you want to susceptible to being catfished.
You don't know what it is about cooperation.
Yeah, people who are
I mean, if you
cooperative
go,
is
yeah, I
interesting.
mean, you go along with
You just
what
go
they
along
ask
with
you to
it.
do.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, you're lonely, so you meet somebody that could be the woman or the man of your dreams,
Mm-hmm.
and then they tell you that they need help, right? Like I saw, when we watched that one Netflix documentary about the guy who was misleading women. I don't even. It was beyond catfishing. He was just putting on a whole charade. He would present these emergency scenarios that would take advantage of the trust he built with you, as well as
Mm-hmm.
the loyalty that you
You
had
make a
toward him.
connection and you're just like, oh my God, I'm in big trouble.
Hmm.
Help me out. But that's when they're trying to get money out of you. He wasn't trying to get money out of him.
Yeah.
That's
Well,
really interesting.
well, I honestly, I think one big group of victims of catfishing that isn't talked about much is Black women. I think a lot of Black women are being catfished
Mm.
in various ways. And I say that because the percentage of Black women over the age of 35 who are not married is growing like consistently, and they're
Hmm.
also doing well financially. They have a lot of money, and I had a friend who was a high flyer. Went to an Ivy League school and made 300,000 or 400,000 a year. And her type of catfishing wasn't so much digital. It was basically a guy who came in and just knew how to say all the right things, and next thing you know, he's like all in her house, and he was going through and using her credit cards and stuff like that because he knew like how much money she had, and he knew she had this big old gigantic house.
You had another catfish friend?
Yeah, well,
Wow.
well, I don't know if you call that catfishing, but I think if you talk about just manipulation,
Manipulation.
yeah,
Hmm.
like I mean, generally, I think if you have something that other people want and you're desperate to trade what you have to get what you need, which might be a relationship or companionship, I think that that can create pretty desperate opportunities or desperate situations, especially if you're dealing with people who are manipulative. And there are a lot of manipulative people out here. I think that there are women who are trained, like you talked about Andrew Tate, training
Hmm.
those women to, find lonely men who can't typically date a woman in your
Hmm.
category and just play them, get their money. And then same thing might be true. I know it's true on the male side. I mean, I've known people that done. I've seen on both sides. I had a
Gee, okay.
yeah, I had a cousin who was the most romantic guy in the world and knew he knew how to figure out how to tell a woman exactly what she wanted to
She
hear.
wanted to
He
hear.
knew how to sell the dream, and he would
Mm.
sell the dream and get what he wanted, and then he
Some lonely woman with all this money. And he's like, you're right for the picking.
well,
Man, I've been watching
mhm,
White Lotus. I'm sorry, this show White Lotus, it's been staying with me. Usually when I watch a series on TV, I just let it go. I just
mm,
watch it and let it go. White Lotus has been staying with me.
okay.
Man, I highly recommend. It's on HBO Plus, I think. It's on HBO, but
Okay.
HBO Max is what I think what it's called. It's Apple Plus,
Mm.
right? And
Well,
HBO Max. But anyway, so White Lotus was kind of like an elaborate scheme.
was that
Very
catfishing?
um no, it wasn't catfishing because the person was who they say they were. Well, not quite. It's just great. That second season, I cry, I never really tear up when I watch something on TV. But that storyline, boys, you just didn't see the second season and you missed it. But it
Mm.
was some similar to a catfish scenario in a way where the guy was manipulating this woman. She had a ton of money. She had a lot of money, and it was just a big, elaborate plot to get the money from her. I won't spoil it for people, but it
Wow.
was really fascinating.
Well, by the way, you're
So
listening to Pillow Talk with Dr. Boyce and Dr. Alicia Watkins. My name is Dr. Boyce Watkins, and this is my wife, Dr. Alicia Watkins. If you could take a minute and hit the thumbs up button, make sure you subscribe to the platform and hit the notification bell. And also, Dr. Alicia is a licensed therapist, and she's been seeing clients for a long time. If you'd like to learn more about what she does, you can visit coachingwithdralicia.com or follow her at Coaching with Dr. Alicia. So this week, we're actually filming or recording from the Bahamas, and that's a goofy little picture of us on the airplane today. And I was a little
that's me being excited.
yeah, well,
I'm excited to be
I
here.
was a little disappointed because I got here and it was just like pouring rain.
I think it's supposed to rain all week, boys.
Yeah, I know, right?
Well, no, it lets up. You looked on your phone. It lets up, right?
Yeah, I'm cool though.
It only like in the Caribbean, it only rains for like a day or two. Just like Florida, it'll be like rainy for like a day or two,
I don't care.
and then the sun comes out.
Yeah, and I just love it here. It's better than Chicago weather, so
Yeah,
I ain't got no complaints. But yeah. So okay, so let's get back to the catfishing thing. My theory on the catfishing thing might be, first off, it seems to me like you were saying that some people that are more um prone to be victimized by catfishing are people that are actually on the autism spectrum. Did you
I did
say
say
that?
that. Well, that's what the podcast told me about. That there were people who were victims of catfishing, that they were a little bit on the spectrum. They were on the spectrum of autism.
Okay.
Yeah, probably on the lower end, of course, or are high functioning autistic individuals,
Mm,
really high function, because there's autism is a spectrum, and so
okay.
anyway, so mildly autistic also were individual, and that's interesting because maybe I don't know if a person who's mildly autistic could be a little more gullible, but you would have to be naive is another characteristic of somebody who could be a victim of catfishing. Someone
So,
who's naive.
okay. So, did they talk about who's most likely to catfish another person?
They did, and I can't remember what all they said. I probably should have written it down before we started the podcast, but it's clearly somebody who's manipulative. And what's interesting is that they were talking about there's catfishing businesses, almost like Andrew Tate's business.
Mm,
There are just people on the internet. If you're online dating, beware. There are people on the internet who just like that's their business. Like, okay, all of these spam accounts, these spam accounts trying to get you cryptocurrency, and you got a spam account. I have one. I have several spam accounts. Is that a sign that you're just like famous or something? You have
Oh,
spam accounts.
you're talking about fake accounts, like when people like fake
Yeah,
Dr.
it's
Lucian.
similar. It's similar to that, like fake accounts. People contact me all the time about these
That's
fake
true. So I guess
accounts.
that is a type of catfishing because there are
Yeah.
fake Boyce Watkins accounts that message people and they say, hey, how's your investment going, and would you like to invest with this project that I'm doing? And they do have a whole conversation with people, and people have sent me screenshots. I don't know exactly how to stop it, and they've gotten thousands of dollars this way.
Oh no.
Yeah, yeah. I've met people who've lost, a couple $1,000s, and I feel terrible about it. I've been trying to warn everybody, but they just hit so many people, and
Right.
Facebook doesn't do enough to get those people off the
The bots
platform.
and stuff like that.
Yeah, yeah, they don't do a good enough job, so it kind of makes me sad. So just a warning to everybody: if I ever act like I'm trying to come into your inbox and sell you crypto, it's not me. I promise you. Yeah, yeah. So I think that I guess when I'm thinking about the catfish stuff, it's I mean, to me, it does come off as common sense, and or at the very least, I would say, typically, if something seems too good to be true, there's a good chance that it is, or at the very least, it needs to be sufficiently verified.
Yeah, so it's like, the people who are perpetrators of this catfishing, like they're putting up beautiful photos. Not to say that that person's out of your league, but you
Mhm,
got to kind of think about it. You got this Adonis person,
mhm.
these gorgeous photos of someone, and they're only interested in you. I don't know. It's just like, okay, come on. You got to be a little objective,
Well, I would say at the very
you know.
least, if you met somebody online, I would say spend as much time in person with that person as possible,
Yeah,
because that'll eliminate.
quickly get them in person.
Yeah, a lady
Mhm.
tried to catfish me about 10 years ago. Did I ever tell you about that?
Really?
Yeah, yeah, she got on the phone with me and everything.
Ah, 10 years ago?
Oh, it was a long time ago. Wait,
Oh,
way before you, baby.
well, no, no. I mean, it's just catfishing. So wait, so 10 years ago,
Hmm.
was it? How did you meet her online?
I think so. I don't
You
remember
did
exactly.
online dating, voice.
A little bit, but not much. Everybody meets people online. They make friends
Okay.
online and stuff like that. And if you're single and somebody's
Was
nice,
it in your DM or was it like an online dating? Did she
I don't
slide
think.
up in your
I don't think it was. I
DMs?
think she slid in my DMs. I don't think it was online. I didn't do. I couldn't do online because even 10 years ago, I was enough of a public figure that I couldn't put my profile up publicly. It would be weird. But I think I did meet somebody,
So this had to have
and
been 2012
yeah,
then.
social media is not a bad place to meet like-minded people.
Okay.
Like,
Yeah.
the lady I dated before you, I met her on social media, and she was a great lady. She was good for the time she was in my
She
life.
slid in your DMs and you made it.
Well, she did,
You
and
made
to
it.
be quite honest with you, like I just think that that's something that happens when
Wow.
if you're a public person, you gonna always have people slide in your DMs, and the way women slide in your DMs is usually they're not super direct, but they're just
Oh,
real.
they asking you, can you give me some financial advice, boys? Oh, how about I slide? I'm gonna slide in your DM.
Well, you ain't gotta slide in my DM.
I'm gonna slide in your DM.
I'm gonna slide in your DMs
It's a
nice,
role
lady.
play. We can role play
Oh,
a
okay.
DM. I'm gonna slide in your DM, pretend like I'm somebody else. I'm gonna catfish you, but I'm gonna make it. We'll just play out the whole scenario. How about that?
Okay, I'm gonna slide in your DM tonight. How about that? So
Anyway.
anyway, so yeah, but you know what? It's kind of yeah, but when the lady did that thing, I remember. I talked to her on the phone a few times, and she really, if it wasn't, I really, in hindsight, believe she was faking, right? And because I remember that I'm not stupid, you know. So eventually, I'm like, okay, I've gotten to know you on the phone. When
Mm-hmm.
are we gonna meet in person? And every time it was time to meet in person, there was always an excuse, you know.
Oh.
And that's when I was like, okay, this is all a game. Somebody's playing games, you know. And and I remember somehow, I don't remember how, but I think I got a note from a guy who asked me if I knew this lady. And I said, yeah, I do know her. And he said, yeah, she keeps on she's talking to me a lot. And every time I try to meet her in person, she always makes an excuse. And that's when I
Ah.
was like, okay, this is silly. I'm not gonna be stupid.
Yeah, it's you have to be kind of cautious with online dating, I think. You don't know who they are. You met their family. You
Yeah.
haven't done any of that. You need to be cautious. And I think it's interesting. I've heard of scenarios where they're just like, yeah, let's meet up, but I can't meet up because I don't have any gas money.
Right.
They'll be like, send me some gas money and we'll meet up.
Well, you know,
Just like,
they had those old scams where they used to tell you that they were somehow, like, they were like the son of a prince, and they needed to like get $10 million
oh,
out
the
of the bank.
Nigerian
Yeah, and they need you to send like a
corruption.
hundred dollars so they can pay the postage fee, so you can get your 20% of the 10 million. And people will fall for that. That's the part that makes me really curious about the spectrum of intelligence.
Oh, it's so funny. And I'm just remembering a Dr. Phil show. I think Dr. Phil was doing a string of catfish shows.
Mm.
And it would be this like heavy set white lady, and she would be somewhere in Iowa, somewhere, and then it would be this Nigerian person who would just come on the show, not even come on the show, he would be streamed in or whatever, and they would just confess their love for each other, and she would have sent him thousands, tens of thousands of dollars,
Wow.
and you're looking at her and you're like, she doesn't make that much money to be sending him,
Mm.
and he's promising her all of these things, delivering on none of it. Oh my goodness.
That's sad. I think that's really sad because
Awful.
it really just speaks. It makes me sad because it makes you think about how many really lonely, really desperate people there are.
Yeah.
You know, and my heart goes out to them. You know, I mean,
Yeah.
obviously, because you could say something basic like, well, okay, if something seems too good to be true, it probably is. Like, don't send people money if you haven't met them, and that's going to work for most normal people. But I believe that the people that advice does not work for are just people that are just in some sort of psychological space I cannot understand.
Isolated and yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
and it's sad when it happens, and I think people who do that to other people are terrible human beings. You know, and it's but it's gonna get worse because now, you know, they got AI and they can do deep fakes.
That's right.
Yeah.
AIs, and it's not even a person, it's a computer. You falling in love with a computer.
Hmm. Oh, it's not a game. They
Yeah.
can they're getting so good with AI that they can fake a person's voice
Yeah.
and take your image and make it look like you're talking to the person, like you're sending them messages or whatever.
Oh, how savvy.
Yeah, yeah. Now I don't know if they could do a Zoom call or something, but
But they know the psychology. The thing is, they know the psychology and how the mind works, how they can play upon your innocence and play. There's a lot of really good citizens. There's a lot of people who just feel for other folks. I mean, it could be people that you just know. They're like, you know what? I know if I give him a sad song, he's going to send me money.
hmm.
I know that I could, if I call him up and I tell him some sad story, then boom, next thing I know, he's cash apping me some money. So, like, there are people who manipulate. And I think that's so important to have other people around you, because I think if you have like friends, if you start talking to like a support system about what's going on in your personal life, that person would be
Hmm.
like, hold on a second, this person, wait, let me try to, because when you're in it, you don't get to see it. You're fuzzy because you're so in it. And
Mm.
your heartstrings are being pulled or manipulated. And so another friend of yours would say, hey, this person's manipulating you. Don't send that person no money. Why are you responsible for whether this person keeps their house or don't keep their house or does whatever, so it's kind of like an outside person needs to kind of like snap you out of it in a sense.
Okay, I can see
Hmm.
that. Yeah, so maybe talk to other people about it, and they
manipulating.
might see something you don't
Have a
see.
sad story. Always have a sad story. You're like, okay, come on.
Yeah, yeah. I'm thinking like maybe men can be vulnerable to catfishing because we might have that whole superhero complex and
I want
want
to save
want to say
him,
Captain Save him,
save
you're
her.
right. And then for women, I think women, because women are so sensitive and caring and emotionally connected, like I've always been fascinated by how men can feed women a fantasy or just
Yeah,
romance, and women will just be swept away so badly that they'll do things that are completely irrational. And it's not even like sexual, like how those guys will be in prison, and some woman will literally be really in love with a guy who's been locked up for the last 8 years.
that's right.
Like that's heavy. I don't understand that at all.
Yeah, I mean, there's some. We talked about that. There's some women who only date prison inmates.
No,
Like, I'm only
that's what you need to
gonna
go
get
see.
with
You
them.
need to go see coaching with Dr. Alicia. You need to go and get some therapy.
Oh,
You'll find
buddy.
that. Yeah, that's a whole nother conversation. Woof. Then what I did see that lady though who did there was a video about that, a lady who said
Yeah,
she only dates prison inmates, and
we talked about
I
that.
think she said she dates several of them at once. And I guess maybe in her mind she knows where they at. She knows they ain't out cheating and with other women. Like I don't know.
Well, a lot's going on in
A
prison.
lot's happening in prison.
Let's
Yes, it
not
is.
even. So she'd rather forfeit that for whatever's happening in prison.
Well,
Okay.
who knows? I mean, people have their own preferences, but
And
anyway.
and that's the hard part about it. It's like you have self determination. Like, if you're a grown adult, ultimately you could do whatever you want to do. And as a social worker, we believe in self determination. We believe that you should be able to make your own decision. You should be empowered to do that. And so, in a sense, when you're like telling somebody what they need to do, you're taking away, it's like you're taking away their sense of self and sense of direction. So it's really difficult because legally, I don't know what case law there is on this, on people manipulating you out of your money. It's almost like, it's like the lemon law. It's
Wouldn't it
like
be like theft?
buyer beware,
Yeah, or theft by deception. I
death
mean,
by
I imagine
deception.
that would
Yeah.
be, I'm sure that there's got to be some law that will protect people. But I think what
You
maybe,
would think, but I've watched so many Netflix documentaries on
well,
the Tinder swindler. Remember that? The
well,
Tinder
I
swindler.
think it can get tough in those cases because they're international, right? And
Mm-hmm.
you're talking about trying to go across international borders to get somebody, and that does become tough. I think with the Tinder swindler though, I think they had him arrested on
Oh,
some
he's.
charges. They went after him, right?
I
But
want
did,
to
but
say
did,
he's
did
free.
but didn't he get like plastic surgery?
Yes, that's how bad he got plastic surgery.
Damn.
Yes, changed his name and
Oh
everything.
my gosh, that's crazy.
Just they're miserable individual people who prey on individuals like that, and it makes me look at Andrew Tate totally different. I mean, of
Right.
course, I kind of not quite a fan of his, but it does make me look at people like that differently,
Well,
knowing
it,
that that's his background.
well, who knows?
Hmm.
Well, anyway, guys. So my name is Dr. Boyce Watkins. This is Pillow Talk with Dr. Boyce and Dr. Alicia Watkins, and
Oh, let's get back to the story, right?
this is well. I'm hungry now, so I think it's time to end this
Oh,
Pillow
you're
Talk.
hungry. Okay,
Yeah,
so we're
I'm
done.
gonna go eat a salad.
I just woke up and I'm like ready to. I'm
You
ready
ready
to
to go?
go. I'm ready to talk.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, anybody who came in just now, that you can go back and listen. We were talking about this whole catfishing situation at an HBCU, and this coach, Juan Dixon, ends up being sued. And it's kind of sad. This is a sad story, but you can rewind and hear the rest. I think I'm gonna go eat a salad because I'm hungry.
Oh, well, I had a whole bunch of thoughts about
You have more
about that
thoughts? Go ahead.
situation.
If you have thoughts, babe, then share
No,
your
that's
thoughts.
okay. We
Everybody,
can
hit
end.
the thumbs up button. Thumbs up, share, subscribe. Dr. Alicia's website is coachingwithdralicia.com. Alicia has some thoughts, so
No,
I
I
would
was
like to
just
hear your
saying
thoughts. Go
how
ahead.
I was just thinking like how awful it is to be a college student and to be, it's your first attempt to launching from your home. You're all excited. You're at a HBCU, and nothing's more comfortable and nothing's more inviting. You lower your guard at HBCUs in a way because, it's just like coming home again. Like, HBCUs have that nice, warm feeling where it's just like you're loved and accepted. So it's a really comfortable space. And I don't know how this HBCU, if that happened there, but I mean, I grew up in an HBCU. I actually grew up from the age of 4 all the
Tuskegee.
way up. I grew up at Tuskegee, and it was a great warm feeling being at HBCU. And so I'm certain he just was relaxed. It was like, oh, everybody's my friend. This dude's my friend. I mean, and he's probably was too embarrassed to tell somebody about it. Can you imagine if his parents knew? You know, he could tell his parents. He was probably embarrassed. He's away from home, almost like the Mateo fella, you know, who doesn't they don't want to tell somebody, you know, what's happening to them. You just got catfished, or you realize you get catfished. You kind of hold that secret inside because there's so many. It's hopes and dreams when you go to college that you're gonna get it right, and to have to tell somebody, oh my God, I messed up. I got myself in this pickle. You know,
Yeah, I think that that's
it's
true.
stressful.
Clearly, it sounds like he made a mistake, right, with the lawsuit. So, Ibn Williams, who sued Coppin State over a catfishing incident where he's allegedly being catfished by one of the coaches on the basketball team, a guy with the last name Brownlee. I don't have his first name, but you know, I get that, right? I think the bigger question I have is not so much whether this was unfortunate for him, but I'd be curious to know exactly why the university and the head coach have to be dragged into this. You know, they didn't know what was going on.
It's a Title IX
They didn't.
violation.
Yeah, and I think that they probably would have advised him, you know, don't be sending pictures to somebody online, you know, and it's kind of like if he decides to send these pictures to this person online and he's getting catfished, you know, yeah, that coach is a pervert and they got rid of him. But allegedly, right, if that's what he was, I just don't. I guess the idea of pushing all that all the way up the food chain, like, okay, the university is responsible for the fact that the coach was a pervert, and that I decided to do X,
Yes.
Y, Z with the coach. I feel like
Hmm.
that's just a lot. You know, that's the part about the law I don't get, because
Yeah.
it's almost like there are some human beings that have to treat other human beings like children and protect you. Because at Ohio State, it happened. The football coach had an assistant coach who was allegedly abusive to his wife, and he just said, I'm not getting involved. That's their marital issue. And the wife complained to the coach and said, you know, he's abusing me, blah, 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 blah. And he's like, look, you know, divorce
Call the
him, to
police.
call the
Yeah.
police. Right.
Hmm.
And they told the coach that it was his responsibility to have done more. And he's like, they're grown-ups. Like, it's not my job to be up in somebody's business like that. That's their marriage.
No, but see, in universities, you have to report it to the Title IX coordinator.
Mm,
You have to. It's mandatory. You'll be in big trouble.
yeah. Title IX.
The Title IX. You have to, even if you hear it, if you overhear something, like it has to be. If someone tells you anything.
Good old Title IX.
Yeah.
All right. Well, anyway, guys, we're going to head on out of here.
Okay.
This is Pillow Talk with Dr. Boyce and Dr. Alicia Watkins. My name is Dr. Boyce Watkins. And if you'd like to see more of what Dr. Alicia does, feel free to visit her website at coachingwithdralicia.com, or you can follow her on Instagram at Coaching with Dr. Alicia. So we will be back from the Bahamas. We'll be here for a few days. So we will check back in with you guys very, very soon. So until we meet again, have a good night, and we will talk to you guys later. Take care now.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.